welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today is going to be my Championship Week 16 score predictions. So the Championship now, as we do approach into December, is really going to start picking up some pace. We got quite a lot of games going on over December, so it's going to be quite a busy festive period for us. But this weekend in the Championship, guys, once again we've got another full fixture list to go ahead and predict with some decent games this weekend. So if you guys haven't seen this series before, let me quickly explain how it all goes down. So every weekend I give you guys my Championship score predictions for what I think the results will be with each game going on in the Championship. FIFA 18 also makes their score predictions, but what I'm really interested to know is what you guys have to say. So in the description down below I will leave all the fixtures that are taking place this weekend, and then you guys can easily go ahead and make your predictions. And then if you do successfully manage to get any of your score predictions correct, I will include your comment at the start of the next video, guys. So like I said, we've got some big games coming up this weekend. So if you guys do go on to enjoy the video, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you do subscribe for regular Championship content. But without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get into these matches. So our first game to go ahead and discuss is the game going on tonight, guys, on Friday night between Sheffield United and Bristol City. And this is actually a pretty big game at the top of the Championship. Of course, we've got third against fourth in this one, and this has the potential to be a very lively encounter, actually. Bristol City at the moment on a fantastic run of form. They've got 2 successive wins now in their last 2 games, coming up against this Sheffield United side who maybe have seen their standards slightly slip lately. I mean, their last performance against Millwall was arguably their worst of the season in that 3-1 away defeat. So this is a big opportunity for them to go ahead and bounce back from that, you know. They're both on the same amount of points at the moment, both on 37 points, so this could be a very interesting one. And if Sheffield United don't get back to their usual standards, this Bristol City side will most certainly punish them, especially with the players they've got going forward. But I do fancy Sheffield United to have a reaction. I just can't see them being as poor as they were last time. So for that reason, for this one, I'm going to go ahead and back a 1-1 draw, whereas FIFA saying it'll be 2-0 United. And then for our next game, we do now move on into the Saturday fixtures, and the first of which being Aston Villa coming up against Millwall. Now, this is a game which I'm actually looking forward to going ahead and seeing the outcome of. Millwall, of course, in their last game had an absolutely unbelievable performance to go ahead and pick up that 3-1 home victory against Sheffield United. Aston Villa as well, definitely in a good run of form at the moment. You know, I think they're unbeaten now in their last 4 games, which has seen them now go into the playoffs, and they'll be looking to maintain that and hold that position for as long as possible. One thing I do see in this game is Millwall's quite direct style does have the potential to get to Aston Villa, with them having a couple defensive players currently out injured at the moment. So that's one area where Millwall could target. But with Aston Villa going forward, and with Albert Adomah still in a ridiculous run of form, Henry Lansbury seeming to be a bit more confident now as well, I'm going to go ahead and back a 2-1 home victory for Villa, but Millwall won't make it easy for them. FIFA saying 1-0 Villa. Then our next game sees Barnsley go up against Derby County. Now, Barnsley at the moment definitely in probably one of the worst runs actually in the Championship. They're now on a 4 successive losing streak, so they'll be hoping to put this to an end as soon as possible. You know, they have seen themselves slowly decline down the Championship, and they will be wanting to put a stop to that as soon as possible. But in this one, it's not going to be an easy fixture against this Derby side, of course. Currently find themselves 6th in the table and in a pretty good run of form themselves. And of course, with Barnsley making a couple of just basic defensive errors, if their defence isn't at full flow in this one, then Derby just have the potential to pick them apart. With players going forward at the moment like Tom Lawrence and Vidra especially, they could rip into this Derby side if they're not completely focused. So for this one, I am going to go for a 3-1 away victory for Derby, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be 1-0 Derby. And our next game sees bottom of the table Burton Albion go up against my club Preston North End. And despite Burton being bottom of the Championship, I'm not anticipating this game to be an easy one for Preston by any stretch of the imagination. You know, Burton's struggles so far this season has come with scoring goals, but defensively they do have the potential to be very frustrating to play against, actually. You know, when they do sit 4 banks of players in front of you, it can be very frustrating frustrating for the opposition to really break them down. So that's an interesting dynamic that I'm looking forward to seeing in this game. In terms of a prediction, I get the impression this will be a fairly low scoring game, and so for that reason I will go with a slim 1-0 away victory for Preston. I'd take that certainly, but FIFA's saying it'll be 2-0 Preston. Our next game then sees Fulham go up against Birmingham. Now Fulham have been quite an interesting side to go ahead and watch this season. It wasn't too long ago when Fulham looked like they could have turned around their fortunes for this season, you know. A couple of weeks ago they got 2 successive wins on the bounce and were looking pretty deadly going forward. Since then, of course, they did have that defeat to Brentford, which I know was a very disappointing performance really, so they'll be looking to put that one behind them as soon as possible, and it is a good opportunity for them to do so against this Birmingham side who themselves really must be lacking with quite a bit of confidence at the moment. And of course, if Fulham's attacking players are unsung for this one, they will cause that Birmingham defence a whole lot of problems. It's just whether their finishing will be intact or not. And Birmingham, I think, have a good opportunity to get a point maybe. Fulham haven't been at their sparkling best overall this season. But in terms of a prediction, I am going to go with a 3-1 home victory for Fulham. Whereas FIFA's saying it'll be a 0-0 draw. Then our next game sees Hull City go up against Brentford. Now, Hull fans, I will be very interested to hear from you guys in this video as to what do you make of your new managerial appointment of Nigel Atkins. He's, of course, just been announced as the new Hull manager, and will he have an instant impact in this game? It's going to be a difficult one because Brentford at the moment are playing some very attractive football, and considering how frail Hull have been defensively this season, paired up against that Brentford attack, they really could do some damage in this one. But with a new manager coming in, there always seems to be a positive swing of momentum go towards them, so I'm not sure they'll get the victory in this one, but I am going to back them to get a 2-2 draw out of this one. Both sides have drawn quite a few games this season, so I could see that as realistic. And our next game sees Middlesbrough come up against Ipswich Town. So who would have thought at the start of the season that, but come December, Ipswich would be ahead of Middlesbrough in the league? And so full credit to Ipswich for going ahead and doing that, of course. They're coming away to this Middlesbrough side who can't be very high on confidence at the moment, and really, I want to see Ipswich take the game to Middlesbrough in this one, because I think if they do employ that game plan, they could go ahead and snatch all 3 points from this one. I see no reason why not. The only thing that negates me from fully believing that'll happen is I still think that Mick McCarthy is quite a cautious manager, so to go to a place like Middlesbrough, I don't think he's going to go all guns blazing with this Ipswich side, which does tend to believe me that this one could also be heading towards a draw. So for this one, I'm going to predict it to finish as a 1-1 draw. Gary Monk really needs to be turning these games into victories, but I'm just not seeing it from Middlesbrough at the moment. And our next game sees Nottingham Forest go up against Bolton Wanderers. So of course, Forest fans, I think, have been a little bit frustrated recently. Of course, they picked up 2 successive defeats now on the bounce, and this is a good opportunity for them to go ahead and get back to winning ways playing against this Bolton side. Now, Nottingham Forest still yet to draw a game this season. How long do you think that will go on for, Forest fans, without drawing a game? And so they do tend to be that all or nothing side this season, and I do fancy them to bounce back in this one, you know. Of course, Bolton this season have shown a gradual improvement from the start of the season, but with how good Forest can be going forward, they could expose a couple of Bolton's weaknesses at the back. So for this one, I will go for a 2-1 home victory for Forest, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be 1-0 Forest. Then our next game does see Queen's Park Rangers go up against Leeds United, and of course quite a few discontent QPR fans at the moment, and it's understandable to see why really. You just need to cast your eye over their recent form. They're without a win now in their last 5 or 6 games, so things really aren't looking too rosy for them at the moment, and especially as they are coming up against this Leeds side who lately have been putting in some decent performances. You know, their attacking players seem to have got a little bit of their mojo back this season, and they seem to be playing with a bit more confidence than they were a few weeks ago. So that's not going to be good news for this QPR side, who are going to be without a couple of players actually. Both Jamie Mackie and Alex Baptiste will be suspended for this one, so that's not going to add anything to this QPR side who are already looking quite fragile. So for a prediction for this one, I am going to go with a 2-1 away victory for Leeds, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be 1-1. Then our next game does see Wolves come up against Sunderland, and probably the side at the moment, it is the side with the best form in the Championship in Wolves. Currently sat top of the table with a remarkable 47 points already at this point in time in the season. That's pretty baffling if you do ask me. Coming up against Sunderland, who are currently rooted to near the bottom of the Championship, currently in 23rd. It's not going to be an easy one for Sunderland, you know. I think Sunderland defenders must just be having nightmares over these next coming days, thinking about that Wolves attack coming at them, you know. When you consider how bad Sunderland were defensively in their last game against Reading, if they're to play any way similar to that, then Wolves will just have an absolute field day in this one. So Chris Coleman really is going to have to make this Sunderland side quite resilient for this one and look to just grind this game out. But can I see them doing it? Not really. I'm going to go for a 4-0 Wolves home victory, and FIFA's actually going to say it's going to be 2-1 Sunderland. And then to the evening kickoff on Saturday, that is taking place between Norwich and Sheffield Wednesday. So this one taking place between two sides who I don't think either of them will be flying with confidence at the moment. So it is a big opportunity for either of them to go ahead and pick up all 3 points, of course. Sheffield Wednesday at the moment, they've actually drawn their last 4 games in the Championship, and throughout that time they've had a wavering of completely different performances, you know. Against Hull, I thought they were looking pretty good going forward, and then we had the performance against Reading when they just looked so negative. So it's hard to establish with Sheffield Wednesday what side's going to turn up and what tactics they're actually going to play for the game. Norwich at the moment, of course, can't be flying high on confidence. Again, that game last time out against Cardiff, they weren't awful, but defensively they did let themselves down slightly. So there's a lot of factors to take into consideration for this one, but for me, I'm actually going to go for a boring 0-0 draw. I don't get the impression that this will be a brilliant game, really, so I'll say 0-0. FIFA's going to say 1-0 Norwich. However, one game that does look like it could have all the ingredients to be a decent game is the one taking place on Monday night between Reading and Cardiff, of course. Reading didn't have the best of starts to the season, but since then they have managed to turn that around with 2 impressive performances in their last 2, picking up 2 victories. Cardiff, of course, keep on applying that pressure to Wolves at the top of the Championship and really are that side which has gone fairly under the radar this season. Despite them sitting in 2nd in the Championship, there's not really been a lot of press about Cardiff so far this season. You know, not a lot of the plaudits in the Championship have gone to the likes of Wolves and Sheffield United and maybe Bristol City, but Cardiff are just getting their business done gradually. So this is a big opportunity for them to carry on that form. It's not going to be easy considering Reading have seemingly turned the corner so far this season, but for me, I'd be a fool to write off this Cardiff side at the moment, and so for as good as Reading have been so far, I'm going to back a 2-1 away victory for Cardiff, or as FIFA saying, it'll be a 1-1 draw. So guys, there you have it. That will wrap it up for my Championship Week 16 score predictions. So do you guys agree with my score predictions? Let me know down below. So guys, if you did go on to enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. And make sure you do subscribe for regular Championship content. But apart from that guys, that will now wrap it up for the video. So thank you so much for watching. And apart from that, I'll see you all in the next one.